a gift. The happy dream is a gift from the Holy Spirit. A couple ideas that we'll encounter today, some of the major themes that I'd like to highlight for you. And the Course tells us that the Holy Spirit needs us to be a happy learner. So you can think of we are called to be happy learners in a happy dream. The Holy Spirit's plan has both a plan and the means for you to attain the plan. Initially, I wrote, the holy plan is attained by the means given in this course. And I realized I was mistaken in the words. The Holy Spirit's plan is attained by the means given by the Holy Spirit. This course is a part of that, but that's not the only place you find the Holy Spirit's plan. The Holy Spirit's plan is available to all peoples at all times and all cultures in various different forms. The key is that the Holy Spirit provides the means for attaining the holy plan. So what does that really mean? I'm not going to assume that that's crystal clear. So let's look at what I call the second theme of today. And it has to do with a goal. The goal here is the holy plan and the means to attain the goal. This is key, central theme. You have to align the goal with the means of attaining the goal. They should be working together. You'll find out why this is important. Another way of saying this, we're going to say the same thing using several different symbols and words. One would be the goal is heaven's purpose, and the means are to use a miraculous means for attaining heaven's purpose. And here's why it's important that we do this. The ego has another plan. Mm-hmm. And it's very easy to fall into it. And that is that you would nod your head yes to the Holy Spirit's plan, in theory, and then use your own approach to try to make it happen. For in other words, the ego says, okay, you want to practice forgiveness and achieve what healing through this program, fine. Let's do that my way. And therein goes the difference between your will be done, the Holy Spirit's will be done, or my own plan for achieving that. So that's really the level we want to understand today's material. And the reassurance we get in the course is the Holy Spirit will provide everything needed to anyone who shares his purpose, his goal. And
prepare you now for the undoing of what never was. If you already understood the difference between truth and illusion, the atonement would have no meaning. The holy instant, the holy relationship, the Holy Spirit's teaching, and all the means by which salvation is accomplished would have no purpose, for they are all but aspects of the plan to change your dreams of fear to happy dreams, from which you awaken easily to knowledge. Put yourself not in charge of this, for you cannot distinguish between advance and retreat. Some of your greatest advances you have judged as failures, and some of your deepest retreats you have evaluated as success.
Didn't we read last week that to be told you don't understand these things is personally insulting to the ego, humbling. And right away in the beginning, we're assured that our understanding is accepted. If you already understood the difference between truth and illusion, you wouldn't need a plan of salvation. You wouldn't need a plan of healing if you already understood these things. So the need is there because we do not understand. It's the illusion that I think I already know what I'm doing, putting ourselves in charge. And then in that illusion, being unable to truly distinguish between progress and digression. This is the nature of the ego, to confuse these things. When we undo the ego's grip on our thinking, which is a great advance, it will seem to our ego as if it's a failure. Likewise, some of the things that seem us as success, I got my way, are actually retreats because we've further given our power over to the ego. Tonight's material focuses right here: the holy instant, the holy relationship, the Holy Spirit's teaching, and all the means by which that plan is accomplished. Those things all come together as a package. And when we say yes to the plan, all of that is included in the package: holy instants, holy relationships, her plan for forgiveness, the interconnectedness with all the sonship. It's a complete package that actually far exceeds our understanding and our comprehension at this time.
One of my biggest failures got me here. There it is, the blessing in everything. And I know now that it was my ego that was judging that as a failure. But here it is. So I cannot distinguish.
And what I'm learning, Susie, is to be totally happy with that.
Oh, yeah, I'm totally, yeah.
What we're saying with regard to one's pursuit of how to achieve happiness, complete love and forgiveness, be a state of non-understanding, true humility is more helpful than to pretend that you already have the answer. Put yourself not in charge of the plan. That kind of summarizes tonight's material. You do not want to think that you are the one to direct your progress from here. And I'm just feeling to share the way I compensate that is I always turn to prayer. Holy Spirit, help. I don't know what to do. I'm entirely willing to go with your plan and whatever that might be. My own plans, I gladly surrender so that your plan your will be done.
Never approach the holy instant after you have tried to remove all fear and hatred from your mind. That is its function. Never attempt to overlook your guilt before you ask the Holy Spirit's help. That is his function. Your part is only to offer him a little willingness to let him remove all fear and hatred and to be forgiven. On your little faith, joined with his understanding, he will build your part in the atonement and make sure that you fulfill it easily. And with him, you will build a ladder planted in the solid rock of faith and rising even to heaven, nor will you use it to ascend to heaven alone.
It's our little willingness, our little faith joined with the entire understanding of the Holy Spirit. And that process of joining, to join with the Holy Spirit, please pray on that. It's like an inward turning of attention towards your higher power and away from your pre-programmed set of things that I've already figured this out what to do. I already know how to deal with this. It's about a humility of being guided moment by moment rather than assuming I've already have the formula necessary to free myself of guilt. Never attempt to overlook your guilt before you ask the Holy Spirit. By not asking the Holy Spirit, you'll assume an improper stance, one of past reflection, and there's a ego looping there that.
I love this image of the ladder because it just reminds me that I can't take anything with me. You know, when I'm climbing up a ladder, I have to have both hands on it. I can't be dragging all my other stuff, you know, these thoughts that don't serve me and all these thoughts, you know, all the stuff that you learn in the course. These things, I can't take them with me because I have to be focused on just hanging onto the ladder and doing the one thing at a time.
You have to lighten your load. And for those of you that were participated in the Song of Prayer, you know that the ladder metaphor, the ladder of prayer, is used there. And so this is an echo of, with him, you will build a ladder planted on the rock of faith and rising to heaven. Nor will you use it to ascend to heaven alone and by yourself.
Through your holy relationship, reborn and blessed in every holy instant you do not arrange, thousands will rise to heaven with you. Can you plan for this? Or could you prepare yourself for such a function? Yet it is possible because God wills it, nor will he change his mind about it. The means and purpose both belong to him. You have accepted one, the other will be provided. A purpose such as this, without the means, is inconceivable. He will provide the means to anyone who shares his purpose.
I always find, to help illustrate these points, to take both the ego view and the Holy Spirit view, because the two are so different, becomes so obvious. So let me share for a moment an ego view that thousands will rise to heaven. Somehow I'm involved in that. Well, my ego dismisses those as mere words and wants to move on and not acknowledge it. So that's ego view. But yet, in our previous reading, The Light in the Dream, where we talked about the great rays of light that propagate from one person to the next, and ultimately way beyond people that you've even met. Well, eventually, if there's a long enough period of time, thousands of people are impacted through an interlocking chain of forgiveness that gets passed from one person to the next to the next. Every holy relationship, every holy instant contributes to this interlocking change of forgiveness. And can you plan for that? No. Can Holy Spirit plan for that? She does it on the level of billions of people. We're just talking thousands here. Can you prepare yourself for such a function as that? How? No, not at all. It is possible because God wills it. And this is, again, echoing tonight's theme. That's the plan. Our goal here is to have faith that the methods for that to occur have been provided. The miracle is the means by which these things show up here, even in our seemingly imperfect status. The miracle shows up and provides the means for achieving these things.
Happy dreams come true, not because they are dreams, but only because they are happy. And so they must be loving. Their message is, thy will be done, and not, I want it otherwise. The alignment of means and purpose is an undertaking impossible for you to understand. You do not even realize you have accepted the Holy Spirit's purpose as your own, and you would merely bring unholy means to its accomplishment. The little faith it needed to change the purpose is all that is required to receive the means and use them.
The union, the integration of means and a purpose on levels that affects thousands of people's journey towards heaven, that plan is impossible for me and you to understand. How your healing can have propagate into the lives of people you don't even know their names is impossible to understand. In fact, even the basic idea of accepting the Holy Spirit's plan and purpose as our own, many of us have not fully realized that that's what we're here for, is to accept that plan as our own, gladly and willingly. This is as a result of having a split mind. That's not saying that part of you is not on board with that idea, but a split mind is a concept that there's another part that still receives attention and is certainly not on board. And here's where the issue comes in. As a result of that other part, you bring unholy means to the accomplishment of the Holy Spirit's plans.
So when it's speaking of accepted the Holy Spirit's purpose as your own, are we speaking of specifically to his purpose for us to be the light of the world? Are we talking about some other more earthly purpose?
It's a heavenly purpose. Heather, I find it's best to think about it in terms of an umbrella that many words can fit under this umbrella of the Holy Spirit's purpose: to be the light of the world, to forgive, to heal, to enter into heaven with your brother hand in hand. David, on the big scale, it's for the entire sonship to return home awake to who they are. That would be the way the Holy Spirit would encompass it. The entire sonship wakes up to who they are and returns to heaven. To do that, there are many steps that are necessary, most important of which are the ones that we face right now, which is the forgiveness of our guilt and the healing of the split mind. That is needed here and now. Everything else will follow from there. So when we say Holy Spirit's purpose, we mean all the steps along the way to all creation returning home into a union with Creator and creation united as one again. Full knowledge of who you are and your relationship to everyone else. As we've been reading for the last several weeks, your understanding isn't necessary. Your willingness to say yes is necessary, but your ability to articulate all these things is not required. What is needed is the little faith to transform from the purpose the ego would have us follow to the purpose that the Holy Spirit would have us follow. Most people think of this in terms of love and fear. My purpose before was fear and anxiety and worry and strain and suffering and pain. And now I have a purpose that is love and forgiveness and happiness and healing and helpfulness. What I'm trying to say is all those words fit under the Holy Spirit's plan, all those concepts and symbols and all the steps along the way.
It is no dream to love your brother as yourself, nor is your holy relationship a dream. All that remains of dreams within it is that it is still a special relationship. Yet it is very useful to the Holy Spirit, who has a special function here. It will become the happy dream through which he can spread joy to thousands on thousands who believe that love is fear, not happiness. Let him fulfill the function that he gave to your relationship by accepting it for you, and nothing will be wanting that would make of it what he would have it be.
So let's make sure we're clear on what we're talking about here. We're talking about a special relationship in the broad sense of the word. So I'm going to massage the definition a little here and say that the special relationship is any relationship that any of us has with someone else that is not, where complete forgiveness does not prevail. Any relationship of any nature where we hold some degree of unforgiveness in our heart and mind. Well, this is very useful to the Holy Spirit. This is what forgiveness is given for, just that. Any relationship that has not completely been forgiven. And so the Holy Spirit incorporates those unforgiven special relationships into the broad plan. As we've said before, she wants you to bring those conflicts, those issues to her in prayer and ask for guidance there. It's very useful to the Holy Spirit because it is just by those relationships being transformed that Holy Spirit can spread the plan of joy to thousands upon thousands of others. So again, she's got this plan to incorporate billions and billions and needs you to perform your function that is likely to show up on a different scale, thousands upon thousands. Other words for what we're saying there is the function Holy Spirit gave to your relationships. That's what we need to have our yes to. I accept the function that Spirit has given me in my relationships to fulfill the broader plan of Holy Spirit. And there's a guarantee that comes along with that. This is an unconditional guarantee nothing will be wanting that you would need in that process.
Doesn't it say in the beginning, Jonica, that it's an individualized curriculum,
Yeah.
right? And so the Holy Spirit and relationships are assignments,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I'm going to have, and everything is already planned already. So I'm going to have relationships, hopefully, that will give me the maximum growth.
Yes. Holy Spirit has a plan through your relationships to bring you healing and bring you home.
If I learn through that relationship,
Yes.
right, and I forgive and I heal, then that will affect and trickle down and
Yes.
put the jigsaw puzzles together, which is what this is all really saying.
Yes.
So all these relationships are brought to me, actually, and hopefully I have maximum growth from them. Interesting to me that you know, different people are brought into my life, different people are brought into Heather's life, different people are brought into your life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we all learn and grow and have maximum growth if we choose to heal.
Right. In that moment. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. The way I think of it, the part I notice in my own self, Susie, that gets in the way is, let's say someone comes into my life with certain difficulties, and those difficulties make me feel uncomfortable. Like, you know, I don't want to be around that. And so I want to distance myself from that. That's separating. That's making a judgment, when in fact, Holy Spirit brings those relationships in to play for the growth of everybody involved. All situations are lessons God would have us learn, and they show up in the forms of people and relationships. Yeah.
I was just thinking, you know, with about the word, the bringing the darkness to the light, you know, I'm just was thinking of someone that I have this unforgiveness still. It's small, but it's still there. When I see her, I tense up. And so I'm thinking, you know, I can bring that darkness into the light. You know, it's already obvious that it makes me uncomfortable. So the light shining in there. So all I need to do is bring that darkness into the light and ask the Holy Spirit to help, you know, remove that, so that I can have this freedom and move on. And then who knows what will happen with her? It could be free her too. So I was just, you know, it's just funny that face just came right into my mind. Like, I thought, oh, I don't have many. It's like, oh, yes, you do. I remember, just came like right there. It was just great.
There's actually a promise, Heather. If you bring the darkness into the light and it frees you, it will free her. I call it a policy that was created in heaven. It was not a policy created here on earth, where there's a cost to everything and we're trying to minimize benefits. It's a policy created in heaven. And we just have to trust and have faith that when we're working with Holy Spirit's plan, we're working with a heavenly plan. And that our role, we do have a role to play, but it's not required that we see all the details, just that we bring our faith to it again and again.
When you feel the holiness of your relationship is threatened by anything, stop instantly and offer the Holy Spirit your willingness, in spite of fear, to let him exchange this instant for the Holy One that you would rather have. He will never fail in this. But forget not that your relationship is one, and so it must be that whatever threatens the peace of one is an equal threat to the other. The power of joining its blessing lies in the fact that it is now impossible for you or your brother to experience fear alone, or to attempt to deal with it alone. Never believe that this is necessary or even possible. Yet just as this is impossible, so is it equally impossible that the holy instant come to either of you without the other. And it will come to both at the request of either.
When you pray to the Holy Spirit to take guilt towards someone into the light, and you have a holy instant, it will come to both at the request of either. The key is joining with the Holy Spirit. This is the new habit. You go through your life and you find yourself in a situation, and then there's a thought that we'll call a judgmental or guilty thought from the ego, whatever nature it might have, fear, anxiety, a thought crosses your mind. And the old habit is to double down on that thought and become preoccupied with it so that you get confused in the thought. The new habit is to stop instantly and offer the Holy Spirit your willingness, in spite of the fear, to let him exchange this instant for the one that he would gift to you. As far as to say, this is the elemental, essential practice of the Course, is when you are threatened by anything, not to continue to dwell on those threatening thoughts, those threatening feelings, beliefs. It encompasses all of that. Do not double down and give the power of your mind to those things. David, can we say don't meditate on the fear for a long time?
I like the word cogitate.
Cogitate it. There you go. That's a great word for it. Do not do that. That's the old pattern. The new one is to pause, to stop. And when instantly, the sooner the better, as soon as possible, and turn to the Holy Spirit and join with the Holy Spirit, being willing, recognizing that that was a dark thought and that we don't want to keep that, and instead exchange that for the Holy One. Forgiveness is, it's the undoing of the cogitation of the ego and replacing it with what you could think of as a prayer to the Holy Spirit, a prayer for forgiveness. The power of joining your mind, not with the ego's thought, cogitation, but instead with the Holy Spirit, power of joining its blessing, are no longer alone. You're no longer processing these things alone. You've now joined your mind with the higher mind.
Either one, it is impossible that the holy instant come to either of you without the other. And it will come to both at the request of either. And when Susie and I, when one of us is in our higher self, it's contagious to the other being in their higher self, and vice versa. And the task is to find one's higher self when the lower self is acting up and demanding attention or looking for attention. Listening to someone named Muji doing a talk on enlightenment and awareness. And I was remembering what we said in our last reading about how it's so easy, it's not difficult, you don't need to understand anything, all you need is the willingness. And something he was talking, and he said, you know, you're listening to me and you're thinking, I have to do these things to become aware, to become enlightened. This is what I need to do. And he said, you don't need to do anything. Nothing. Awareness is. We are awareness. when we are doing nothing. And when we are in our higher self, then our mind is connected to the greater mind, which is awareness, as I see it. So that was really, it piggybacked on what we had talked about in the last session about the simplicity of it.
Oh, that was very helpful, David. Thank you. That brings clarity.
I want to interject something here. What is an echo? What is the difference between a sound and its echo? And that's a rhetorical question. So a sound comes at us directly from its source, but an echo, the sound bounces off another surface and then comes at us a little later. It's reflected off another surface. The Holy Spirit uses echoes in your mind, echoes of the truth. And they show up in many ways, including, David, when all of a sudden you hear someone else that will say something where you recognize an echo of truth from somewhere else, because you illustrated hearing the echo. And as you turn more inward to the truth that is already within you, you become more effective at listening for echoes, so that really that's all you're listening for is the truth, the echoes of truth coming from any source whatsoever. It's what I'll call an inward listening or a soulful listening that is distinct from an outward analytical listening where you're kind of examining what they're saying, if you agree with it or not, or what are they using the right choice of words, which would be an outer type of listening. It's an inner listening. Other places in the course, this is called indirect communication. So David, I would posit you heard the Holy Spirit's voice through the voice of Muji, but you recognize the truth being echoed around in multiple different places, being reflected.
We can never have a universal theology, but it is possible to have a universal experience.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeking here, is that we all have, because even though the course says it's an individual curriculum, means that it's not going to tell you, it's not going to force you to take it a certain way or do it a certain way. What the individual, because the course itself, the words in the course are the same for everybody that's doing the course.
Whoever is saner at the time the threat is perceived should remember how deep is his indebtedness to the other and how much gratitude is due him, and be glad that he can pay his debt by bringing happiness to both. Let him remember this and say, I desire this holy instant for myself, that I may share it with my brother, whom I love. It is not possible that I can have it without him, or he without me. Yet it is wholly possible for us to share it now. And so I choose this instant as the one to offer to the Holy Spirit, that his blessing may descend on us and keep us both in peace.
Wow.
Words are not the central thing, but in our state of learning, they can be helpful. And so the words aren't magical, but yet they do help to bring the mind back to the memory of forgiveness and the opportunity to share a holy instant. It's a way of bringing us present to what's happening right now. No matter what happened before, or no matter what my fears are of the future, I choose this instant as the one to offer to the Holy Spirit. And I'm glad to exchange all my thoughts about past and future and give them to the Holy Spirit in exchange for this one instant, which is really all that any of us have. To me, I can see echoed in this image that the blessing is descending from the Holy Spirit onto all that are involved. I choose to see blessings descending and bringing peace.
I said it says it in the course that it's an individualized curriculum. And to Jane's point, I know that it's the same for all of us. What I thought that meant, just different people will be sent to me, that might be sent to you, that might be sent to David, that might be sent to Jane, to learn all the same lessons eventually, ultimately. So is that what she means by an individualized curriculum?
I'm going to cast these in terms of psychological woundedness, Susie.
Well, that's what Marianne Williamson said.
But that's not the only way in which it could be said, but I think it's a helpful way. So, I may have been wounded in my relationship to my father and been wounded in my way I understand wealth and status, economic status in life, and may have been wounded in my trust for authority figures, politicians, and religious leaders. So those are wounds. They're not special. They seem to be, in my story of the past, they might not mean anything to you. They are the barriers that keep arising in my mind that trigger me, and that I will not be free until they become meaningless. Well, your story sounds different. From a time point of view, it's fair to say it's a different story. It involves different characters and issues. I've heard people tell stories that I can't imagine are true, that are so tragic, but that don't bring up anything in me because I didn't go through those things. So in that sense, the way in which we heal, the way in which the layers and layers of guilt and fear are peeled back is going to be individualized to you and to me and to each one of us in accordance with what we're ready for and capable of exposing, being that part of ourselves to the light. The sequence and the details differ. Having said all that, from the Holy Spirit's point of view, it's all the same.
Right.
It's all a time-space, fearful dream that involves guilt of the past and fear of the future. And it all has to go. All of it has to go. Nothing of darkness of unforgiveness can be retained. So it's that's the broad curriculum that we're going to clean up all of those past, future issues so that we are free. But the way in which each of us goes through it will be individualized according to our capacity to appreciate these things at any given time.
Yeah, that was my understanding. Well said, Jonica.
Yeah, no, this is important because there are programs that try to put everybody through the program at the same pace at the same time. The educational system of public schools is to march people in a room all receiving the same lesson at the same time, passing through the same reading materials. This is an individualized program. So I might be working on lesson 200 and other people are working on lesson 20. But we're all part of the bigger curriculum.
And doesn't it say that the Holy Spirit will only meet me where I'm at? Because if not, it would be against my free will.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree. It reminds me, how we were just talking about the curriculum and how in school you have children that have special needs and they have individual education plans, IEPs. Well, I think the Holy Spirit has little IEPs for me to help me heal in those areas that I particularly have a little wound about. And I'm behind the other kids maybe, but it's particular to me. And they know that I can't advance until I heal that. So yes, the Holy Spirit works with whatever's in that environment to bring that to me for that purpose, not to shame me, but to heal me so that I can be healed from those things that would hold me back. And they are individually, and they only she knows what I need. So I think it's very personal. I take it very personally, and it makes me feel very loved that she knows me so well, that she knows what to bring, so that I can trust her, and then I can learn the lesson much quicker because I trust the one who brought it.
So I want to make this very practical, what we've just said. This week, your week, I'm certain that you will have situations in your life this week. Some of them that you welcome and be thrilled to have, and others not so thrilled to have, that require work and application. Situations. Those are the situations of your life. And we can either meet them as they are, or try to separate ourselves from them and avoid them or reject them, judge them. But what is true is this is the situations that are brought to us. And it's often in the forms of people and things that happen. And an individualized curriculum, acceptance of that, is just realizing this is what's showing up in my life right now. There's a lesson for me here. Let me work with the Holy Spirit's means, the individualized curriculum for me. Let me join with the Holy Spirit in that, and not try to come up with a more clever plan for avoiding these problems and embracing other problems. Get me out of here. I want to be some other place. But to just be present, fully present, and pray, as we said, I choose this instant as the one to offer the Holy Spirit, that his blessing may descend on us and keep us in peace. Embracing life as it is and realizing that there's a situation here that I have a lot to gain from, to learn to be free, and that I can also extend what Holy Spirit is offering to others. Is just, this is part of the happy dream. This is what the happy dream is I accept this situation as wholly within the plan of the Holy Spirit.
So now I have a better understanding of what this lesson is. It's like I'll exchange my nightmare for the happy dream. That's really what they're offering me.
Yeah, it's so easy to go around when things happen and just feel like, oh no, I wish this had never happened. So here's an illusion. Something happens to you and you spend all your energy wishing it had not happened. Well, what we're doing is shifting that to, now that it's happened, how can I bring healing to all concerned? I can't, but Holy Spirit has a plan, and it applies to this situation, and I trust that plan.
I just wanted to share that tonight I realized that through the people that trigger me, that I just need to accept them and come from a place of peace And, like you're talking about acceptance, there's just a few terms that I kind of hang on to: humility, gratitude, forgiveness, and acceptance now seems to be ringing out to me. That if I just accept these people, and yes, they might be lying, they might be complaining, they might be being the victim, all this stuff that I think I have to fix or whatever, I just accept them for who they are. So that's coming through real strongly tonight for me.
Learning to let it be. Just to be with life. One way or another, you're going to encounter these situations, and just learning to encounter them with happiness and the hopeful expectancy that there is a reason for all this. I don't know what it is yet, but let me join with the Holy Spirit and we'll find out.
Yeah, I want that holy instant for both of us,
What a powerful thought. I hope we'll hear about that more. I choose the holy instant and it descends on all the people involved. All right, well, I think we're going to have to call it an evening here. Thank you, David, for reading. Thank you all for your presence and your sharing. I feel energized by all that happened here, and we did this together. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Peace of God to all. Love you.
See you all.
Peace
God bless
and love.
everyone. Good night.
Peace and love.